Okay, my friend, another shocker du jour. Geologists would say that is just natural sedimentation. Took millions and millions of years to do that. Well, I look at this and it perplexed me greatly for quite some time, because we can clearly see, yes, there are exacting layers there, no question about it. They are layer after layer after layer. How would that happen in the mud fossil world? Is that the body of a creature, or is that actually sand? And I think it might be sand. I don't know. I would like to be able to do the chemistry here and look at these rocks and so forth and see what is actually coming out of here, because this is an interesting spot of deposition here. What is that? What are these that are falling here? However, how could I explain it if it was just sand? Which I don't know one way or the other. If it's sand, I'm thinking to myself, the Great Flood caused extensive amounts of flooding and sloshing and ripping of the heavy salacious ooze in the deep ocean, which mixed with literally with blood creates sand. It's the salacious ooze, the silicon, mixes with bloody tissues and blood and creates sand. That's what sand is. It's blood that has attached to silicus. Basically, it's clay, mud, that's become silicated. Now, could it come up and slash and go back and come up and swoosh? Because that's what the waves do. They come in, they go back. They come in, they go back, leaving layer after layer after layer. It would have slashed back and forth probably hundreds of times. Could that be? Now, what would the situation be here that would cause that to happen here and nowhere else, or other places? I see it everywhere, to be honest with you. But this is by far extreme. Now, it's either body tissue or it is what I'm talking about. And it can go either way. But I'm looking like the red bed is down here, which is where all of the blood from the body parts eroded and created a red bed everywhere in the world. It's not just here or there. Now, some places have extreme amounts of clay on top, which is the rest of the stuff, you know, piling up on top of the red bed. I have about this thick of gray clay here. This, and there's all kinds of different colors. There's this color, there's green, there's all kinds of different colors. Mine's gray here in Connecticut. This deserves a little look at. Now, I really don't even know where it is. I get these pictures all the time. But what needs to be looked at is what is the makeup of these, look like rocky looking things to me. And are they deposition of something that funneled in and created a little spot that had deposited here? Or is this biology that has some biological, anatomical, distinctive characteristic that we can see? I don't know. But I'm seeing thicker stuff in the top, and then a very almost like fine clay at the bottom, and then of course the red ocean bottom, basically. And I think that was the red bed, although it could be just sand washing up there. I don't know. But I found it very interesting to look at that closely, and these are the things, like I always say, it's the details, it's the details. What caused these little cuts here and there? Is it, that could be totally a natural erosion. Yes, absolutely. It's one of those things, you really got to look at the details. You really got to look at the details here. Okay, Nick Zentner, this is the Nick Zentner guy that's teaching the kids about biology and rocks and how these things formed and magma and all that. Now, I am commenting, I thought I commented on here the other day, but it's not here. I'm going to try and comment again, because I did. I emailed him. I said, "Hi, Nick, I emailed you with some info. Can you please respond?" That's all I'm asking for. Now, let's see if it allows that comment. All right, so I put that up, and like I say, I think I did one the other day, though. Sort by newest first. Well, I'm here now, and I give myself a thumbs up. And I give him a thumbs up too. Come on, Nick, respond, buddy. Let's talk about these stone pillars and columns, and your take and my take, and I'll show you. I think I have evidence to support what I'm saying. And he's got all kinds of videos here. Nick Zentner, there's a Nick Zentner, all the way down. And he's working with PBS, which, you know, we pay for as public citizens. It's funded by, you know, at least partially by government donations from us. And I would like to see him, you know, give both sides of it. That's all. Here's what geology says, and here's what Rogers says. I'm against the whole world. I mean, literally. But I have the evidence to support every word. I know that chemistry, I know basalts are a product of collagens and keragens. They're the tough, fibery, rubbery stuff that's in your body. They make tendons, and they make these slurpy things. You know, the collagens are a little more floppy, but they still, you know, well, tendon, this is where it gets tricky, because there's like 20 different types of collagen, and I think there's like 20-something different types of keratins, I forget what they're called, keragens, I think. But one of them's a really strappy tough, and one of them's not quite so tough, but it's still, they're collagen-based, because they got to be flexible, but they got to be tough, and that's what your interstitium does, your membranes. They're very, very, very tough, but they're flexible. They have to be, and that's what we're looking at here. Only these are tendons. These are the tough ones, the strappy ones, a little more solid strength. Tendons are tough, tough, tough. Okay, my friends, this is where research is. I just basically finished the video, and as I was sort of looking through it a little bit, I realized something enormous that I missed. So I am going to let the video play just like I was going to do it, and then at the end I am going to add what I discovered that I had missed. And again, this is what research is all about. And there's things I have to explain. And if I can't explain everything, then it's not valid. You have to be able to explain literally every detail, or you don't have a solid claim. So let's see if I have a solid claim. Because I admit, there's a couple of things I don't really know about, I can't show. But at the very end, I think I have found the one little final piece that puts it all together. Okay, my friends, everybody's in a hurry. Let's just jump right into it. I'm going to see, what did Jesus say when he was here on earth? These are the recorded sayings of Jesus, and some of them are extremely disturbing. But maybe we can figure them out with this new, well, some of them anyway. We're never going to figure out all these, I can guarantee you that. Maybe we can figure out some of them with the new understanding of the mud fossils and the pre-flood conditions, and the giants and dragons and all that stuff were real. There's no mistake about that anymore. So now we have to take those into account with these little sayings that Jesus always, he worked in these little parables and nuanced phrases that, you know, what does that mean? I don't know whether he did it just to make your mind start working, or he did it because he knew if he said the real honest truth about things that nobody would believe him, or they'd kill him. I know. All I can say is we just have to go through it and try to figure out what the heck happened here. And part of it goes back to Pistis Sophia. That's going to be the big one, Pistis Sophia. That's going to be the killer right there, because apparently in Pista Sophia, it talks about her developing the universe without having the proper authorities. Let's just call it that. She didn't have the authorities to do it, and she created something that was an abomination. And as you look around you today in the world the way it is an abomination. Now, it's just been festering, getting worse and worse and worse, but boy, I tell you, it can't get much worse than it is now. People begging in the streets and homeless, and all the tragedies and bombing and wars, and, you know, just nasty, nasty, violent, vicious attacks on people. And it's hard to understand what somebody in power could be feeling to authorize these kind of things, but the world is a very complicated place. And I think to myself, how would I handle these things? I don't have answers. But I think to understand what God would want is peace. Once you understand that, you have to figure out some way to get there. Without the violence, it's going to take some give and take. It's going to have to be. That's just life. You can't have everything your own way. You can't beat people down and hope for the best. That's my feeling on it. It seems to be the way of the world, though. I just don't know anymore. And it's always been that way. It's not like it just happened yesterday or the week before or 10 years ago. It's just been since day one. The Greeks, they weren't as bad. But then you get to the Romans, and they were a little rough, you know, tough. And all of the other peoples that they tried to conquer and suppress, they had to do something. They want to fight back. That's just the nature of life. You don't want to be pushed around. So that created that whole other, and then it just never ended. It's just, you know, you stay on your side of the border, I'll stay on mine, don't you bother me, and, you know, but one guy sooner or later, he'd go to bother the other guy, and the next thing you know, you got a war. And then they just never ended. It just kept going. And I don't think God's going to be real happy about this, I can tell you that. If God is a loving, peaceful God, this is not a loving, peaceful place we live in right now. And it's not an honest place. There's very little truth. Truth is suppressed. And all of these things were said. It's, you know, in those days, truth will be denied. I mean, just everything. All about teachers, false teachers, and their destruction does not sleep. Basically, that's what we have now. The people that we thought were teaching us what we had to know to become intelligent, they don't want you to know the things that are true, because it points to the fact that evolution is not true, that there is a God, gods, little g gods. There's some really serious thing going on with history and evolution and all of that stuff. Where did we originate from? Not from slime. Or it may be slime, but it was designed to turn into life by a God. Everything I have seen is biology. So it could be that slime just kept growing to become the gigantic biology we see now. I can't dispute that either. All I can tell you is that, as far as I have found, not a single thing exists that didn't originate as biology. Zero. Even sand. Say sand? Roger, what are you talking about? Sand. Sand is nothing more than silicate blood cells, primarily. It's silicates attached to the most basic bodily fluids. Let's go with that. And they turn into little crystals of sand. The real red sand is where there was a lot of blood, iron. There's areas that have black sand. There's all kinds of different color sand. And it's from different molecular, the tiny little atomic almost, pieces that were in the body fluids. that attached to silicon during this gigantic flushing of the oceans and so forth. The salacious ooze came up and the whole thing turned into little bitty particles. So what I'm getting at is there's just nothing that exists. The mud, the clay, the sand, the rocks, stuff coming from space. Asteroid Bennu, they picked up that sample, it's back here on Earth, and it's 100% certainty that that is the same chemistry as biology, has the DNA, the RNA, the uracil, the 16,000 molecules that are identical to what's in the human organic body. It has all the amino acids. Well, they've found 14 out of 20, and they probably, the other ones are there. Or it's possible that they got irradiated out, but I don't think so, because they went in deep. And when they came back with the phospholipid layers, which are 2 layers of phosphorus, which are membranes, and then in between them, they had the blocks of muscle, the sarcomeres, and they said, yeah, it's a red clay in between there. And then the phosphate layers, we never expected this. No, because its muscle is the red clay, and the phosphate layers are the membranes. And that's billions of, at least way over a billion. To go out, pick that sample up, bring it back, and it's been here 7, 8 months now, or whatever, since September of last year. And they just can't deal with the fact of what they're looking at in their face. They can't, same thing they came back with, I think it was Riguru or something, Rugu or something. They did the same thing. They came back with a sample from there, and it had the same biology, and they said, oh, we contaminated it. We must have contaminated it, because it couldn't have that biology. And then I saw another article somewhere on the internet the other day. This is the most hilarious thing in history. They're talking about biology being on Bennu. And they said, well, we did find this, we did find this, we did find this. And then this guy ridiculed them so bad and said, he was just very arrogant and idiotic the way he attacked the fact that that was biology. And this is guys was some big fancy science writer for somebody. As a matter of fact, let's go find out who he was, because I'd like to have you see who's making these comments. Yeah, you see, here it is right here. Year's most ridiculous idea about life's origin. This goes back to February. Now, here's what this says. Could this be the year's most ridiculous idea about life's origin? David Klinghoffer. I'd like to talk to David, because this is exactly biology, and he just doesn't know biology. These are the valves in the heart. And all of these things came. 800 million probe plus 183 million for the vehicle launch. It was way over a billion. Way over a billion. And he's laughing at it. Oh boy, we did this. They found 16,000 organic molecules in there. 16 amino acids that make up the proteins. DNA. All of that stuff. The RNA, the proteins, cell copies, uracil. Bennu contains uracil too. That's the most important thing. That's how DNA changes. And then this guy makes a big joke out of it. Came out of space, laughing. David Klinghoffer. Well, David, I have no respect for your ability to think, my friend. Senior fellow and editor at Evolution News, Slime to Life News. Senior fellow of Discovery Institute Center for Science and Culture and Dismissal of Reality. Oh, they left that out. He's the author of 6 ridiculous books, including Lord Will Gather Me In. Yes, he will, David, and he will not be happy with you. My Journey to Jewish Orthodoxy, and with Senator Joseph Lieberman. The Gift of Rest. Yeah, well, your mind has that gift. A former senior editor at National Review. These are the kind of people that are, how arrogant can you be? Could this be the year's most ridiculous idea about life originating? It has every single signature. How could somebody like this make these kind of statements and be respected in any degree? I have no respect for him whatsoever. None, zero. And that's not ridiculous. That's a good solid statement.